Muted.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar, which is on DMF submission going electronic. Before starting today's webinar, I would just like to brief you about Surgeon Systems. Surgeon is into the industry since 1998. We have completed a successful journey of about 17 to 18 years. Core competence, we are into the greenfield project solutions. Quality standard, we are a ISO 9001-2008 certified company, providing software solutions and services for the pharmaceuticals, healthcare, life science, medical device, FMCG, and some of the oils and lubricants companies are our client. We are a NOSCOM member. Our exposure is up to CGXP guidelines. Clients, we have clients across the globe, India, North America, Europe, Africa, Australia, and Southeast Asia as well. These are our valued clients. These are our regulatory software solutions. One of them is KnowledgeNet, the dossier project tracking and submission solution. Next one is the PVNet, drug safety database for the pharmacovigilance. BizNet, a complete clinical trial management solution. QH, your quality management system. Into the business segment, we have a 3 solutions: sales and distribution, PharmaNet, FF reporting for the CRM, SFN, ED. Rocket is a business process automation solution. Now I would like to introduce about today's speaker, Ms. Riddhi Joshi. She is senior consultant in regulatory domain, regulatory affairs. She has experience of about 8 years into the regulatory domain, specialized into the dossier publishing, submission, pre-approval and post-approval activities. Now I would like to invite Riddhi to start today's webinar.
Hello everyone. As you know, the webinar is on DMF submission going electronic. So I would firstly start what you will be getting after this webinar, what all information. So starting with I would be giving a brief on basic concept of DMF and what are the process and procedures of submission of DMF in multiple regions, and a concept of life cycle management of DMF submission in each of the regions. Its publishing challenges which are faced by submitting DMF electronically, and to fulfill all those challenges, I would also like to get through few tools and processes which are useful for DMF electronic submission, which helps you in submission to do it quickly, easily, and with a nice user-friendly results as well. So starting with brief about DMF, basic concept of DMF. As we know that DMF is drug master file, which is also known as active substance file, manufacturing file in Europe, and earlier it was known as European drug master file. So these are the basic terminologies along with active pharmaceutical ingredients, that is API. So starting with is what is the role of DMF actually, or you can say as ASMF, is to submit confidential details, information to the regulatory authority pertaining on the facilities, process or articles used in manufacturing, processing, packaging and storing. So it's a very confidential details which you provide in DMF. So DMF is a document containing complete information on an API, that is active pharmaceutical ingredient, or on finished drug dosage form. An active substance master file is the currently recognized term in Europe, and as I've said, European drug master file was also formerly known in European market, but in US it is known as US DMF. So now agencies are recommending DMF dossier in eCTT format Even some of the agencies has released timeline for only eCTD acceptance format. Now next is who should actually file DMF. Typically a drug master file is filled when two or more firms work in partnership on developing or manufacturing a drug product. So in such scenarios, to look after the confidential assets from its partner, the company files its DMF while complying with regulatory requirements for disclosure of processing details. So this is on who should be filing the DMF, wherein when there is partnership, the person who is submitting DMF, the confidential part is submitted to the regulatory agency. I'll just go through it. Which are the highly regulated markets? Those are as stated. Nearly regulated market are Brazil, Russia, and South Africa, and less regulated market where no drug master file using registration process is India and many more. Starting with electronic DMF submission in different regions. Firstly, I will go with US DMF submission, whose the deadline for having a DMF in electronic format is 5th of May 2017, whether it is referenced by an INDA, NDA or ANDA. So by 5th of May 2017, all the DMFs should be filed in electronic format. Now, how the US DMF system works? Firstly, with dividing into three portions. First is filing of DMF, second is accessing the DMF, and third is the review process of DMF, which is done by the agencies. So how the system works in US is filing of DMF. So for that, the holder sends 2 copies of DMF to FDA. In DMF is reviewed for administrative purposes only by the central document room staff. And DMF entered into a database, assigned a number, an acknowledgement letter is then sent to the holder. So DMF is neither approved or disapproved. Second is how the DMF is accessed by the authority. So through letter of authorization, that is LOA, the DMF will be reviewed only when it's referenced in an application or it is in another DMF. So the holder must submit 2 copies of letter of authorization to DMF plus a copy to the applicant. So the applicant submits the copy of LOA in their application also. The same LOA is then submitted in application dossier by an applicant. And the LOA is only mechanism to trigger a review of DMF in FDA. Now, how the review procedure works of DMF in US is the DMF is reviewed only if referenced by the applicant or another DMF. Then, if the reviewer finds deficiencies in DMF, the deficiencies are detailed in a letter of holder. The applicant will not be notified that deficiencies exist, but the nature of the deficiencies are not communicated to the applicant. So this is how the DMF system works in US. The next point is US DMF closed system. I'll just quickly explain what is the DMF closed system in 3 points. One is its confidentiality, the stakeholders of it, and how the use of DMF information is done. So DMF contains information which includes valuable know-how which should be kept confidential and submitted to the authorities only in the closed part of DMF. So this is the reason why it is known as the US DMF closed system, so that the confidentiality documents are submitted in the closed part of DMF. Second is the DMF stakeholders. Who all are the stakeholders? DMF holder, that is a company or person who submits the DMF, and the applicant. That is a company or person who referenced the DMF in an application or other DMF. These are the 2 DMF stakeholders, and how the information contained in DMF may be used is support an investigational new drug application, support a new drug application, support to an ANDA, that is abbreviated new drug application, support to another DMF, support to an export application, and support to amendments and supplements to any of these. These DMF informations are used in all these new applications. Now I'll go through the types of DMF. In type 1 is manufacturing site, facilities, operating procedures, and personnel not specific to a drug substance. So in type 1, DMFs are no longer accepted by FDA, but old ones remain on the file. Now type 2. Type 2 is drug substances, drug intermediates, and material used in their preparation or a drug product. A type 2 DMF, the most common form, can also cover dosage form drugs manufactured under contract for another company, which would file an ANDA. Type 3 is packaging. Type 3 packaging material from bottles and caps to PVC resin used in their manufacture must be covered in DMF or other FDA documents such as NDA. Type 4 is excipient, colorant, flavor, essences, or material DMF. Excipients are chemically inactive substances such as starch or cellulose used to bind drug products. Now, and type 5 is FDA accepted reference information not included in other parts. So FDA requires DMF be current at the time they are reviewed. So the FDA regulations regarding DMF states that any additional changes or deletion of information in drug master files except the list required under paragraph of this session is required to be submitted in 2 copies and 2 described by name, reference number, volume, and page number. Those information affects the drug master file. And the FDA ensures that DMFs are current. If the company has not submitted any annual report for 3 years, the agency sends an overdue notification letter to DMF holder. The holder has 90 days in which to respond and submit his annual report. If he fails to respond, the DMF may be closed. So this is the information regarding DMF submission in US. Next we move forward to another region, that is Europe. EU DMF, which is in the DMF is known as Active Substance Master File, which was previously known as European Drug Master File. The content and the format for Drug Master File used in US states differs from that used in European countries to obtain marketing authorization. So the mandatory format of ASMF submission for human medicine is now in ECTD or structured means. The use of ECTD will become mandatory for all the centralized procedures, human ASMF submission from 1st of July 2016. So if an ongoing application dossier started in ECTD format, all the subsequent submission should be in ECTD format in order to maintain the life cycle. Once the ECTD is not possible, to revert back to means. And an ECTD baseline should be provided for ASMF currently in NIS format. Now we'll see what are the publishing challenges to submit DMF in Europe. The DMF contains information which includes valuable know-how which should be kept confidential and submitted to the authorities only. Therefore, it should be divided into 2 parts, an applicant part and ASM restricted part. The applicant part of DMF is provided by the active substance manufacturer to applicant directly and becomes part of the application for marketing authorization. Both the applicant's part and the ASMF restricted part of DMF are submitted to the authority. So the system is divided into open and closed part. Going through an active substance master file procedure which consists of 2 parts. Applicant path, which also refers to open path, which shall be at the disposal of the applicant. And the closed path, that is the ASMF restricted path, which is confidential document close to an applicant. Both the paths need to be separate and should follow the structure of module 3.2.f of CTD. So these are the two parts consisted in ASM submission. Now next is what data should be submitted in ASMF holder. In the first submission of ASMF with an allocated EMEA ASMF reference number, the ASMF holder is required to submit ASMF brochure, which has application path, restricted path, quality overall summary, and expert's curriculum written. And it needs to be submitted letter of access, submission letter, and administrative letter, and a commitment to inform the applicant and the EMA of any change in ASMF to be provided either as a separate letter or within the letter of access. So this is the ASMF holder is required to submit all these documents. The second, later marketing authorization application or variation submission referencing to an already submitted ASMF. So what are the points you need to take care for already submitted ASMF with an allocated EMEA ASM number? The ASM holder is only required to submit number 1, letter of access, number 2, submission letter and administrative details, number 3, the relevant revised section of the ASMF brochure which should reflect the changes to the previously accepted version as applicable. And number 4, a commitment to inform the applicant and EMEA of any change in the ASMF to be provided either as a separate letter or within letter of access. So the letter of access and the letter of commitment to inform the applicant about any changes in ASMF should be included both in application form submitted by the applicant and also in the ASMF already submitted by ASMF holder. So the new MAA or MAV should always reference the last version of ASMF submitted. This will be subject to compliance checks during the validation of MAA and MAV. So the ASMF brochure and the subsequent updates should be only submitted once. Moving forward, who should request for reference number? From 1st of September 2013, ASMF holders submitting their ASMF brochure relating to a central authorized product are asked to send to the agency and committee member only once. So according to the new ASMF submission rule, the agency will assign a reference number or request prior to the submission to ASMF that can cover multiple caps. So the EMEA ASM number is an internal reference number subsequently assigned by EMA to enable an appropriate data lifecycle management of ASMF used in one or more centralized marketing authorization. The EMEA ASMF reference number does not replace the responsibility of ASMF holders to version control for their ASMF, nor replaces their ASMF numbering system. So this is what the reference number is in ASMF. Next is who should request for an EMEA ASMF reference number. The EMEA ASMF reference number should be requested by ASMF holder for following reasons. Firstly, for new ASMF submitted to MAA or MAV as of 1st September 2013. From this day, the reference to an EMEA ASMF number will be checked and validated. Now, secondly, ASMF previously submitted to EMEA when referenced in new MAV or MAA. The request for the EMEA ASMF reference number should be made before submission of any new MAA or MAV to update the ASMF. And thirdly, ASMF submitted in relation to the variation application. So these are the people who should request for EMEA ASMF reference number. So these are the reasons why ASMF reference number is to be asked for. We'll move forward to what is actually the ASMF reference number. Up to 2 weeks before submitting a complete ASMF or update to an already submitted ASMF, ASMF holder should request for EMEA ASMF reference number. The request should be sent to the email address pabus@emaeurope.eu. So moving forward to what is the life cycle management, how to proceed if ASMF was previously submitted in paper format. The ASMF holder of ASMF previously submitted in paper format should request EMEA ASMF reference number, which as I've explained earlier. And after the reference number is allocated to the holder, should submit the ASMF in an accepted electronic format. Either it may be eCTD or in NIS format. Next is how to proceed if there is an existing eCTD life cycle for ASMF. ASMF holders need to request EMEA ASMF number by filing the request form. The EMEA will then provide the requester with a new number within 3 working days. If the ASMF holder already has more than one eCTD life cycle filed for a given substance, they will need to select one of these, that is informing the EMEA in cover letter which one it will be, and follow the eCTD life cycle of the selected product only. Once the ASMF holder is submitting an update or new version of ASMF, they have to do so with the new number. So the holder will have to prepare new sequence in which they declare that the previously submitted ASMF version has not been modified since it was the last submit. So this is how the DMF ASMF submission is done in Europe. Moving forward to the next region, that is DMF in Australia. As we know, from January 1st, 2016, all the eCTD application must be submitted in TGA in version 3.0. So the TGA, that is the agency of Australia, has a preference for receiving technical data in an electronic format, either in eCTD or in NIS format, but has not set a date for receipt of electronic only dossier. So the TGA has adopted the European guidelines for preparation of ASMF, or you call it as DMF. Noted that once the DMF is submitted in eCTD format, all the subsequent submission should be in eCTD format only in order to maintain the life cycle, which is a European guideline as well. Submission of drug master file is done in eCTD or NIS format. The electronic submission webpage describes the requirements, including how to send to the TGA. So when the DMF is received by TGA, an acknowledgement letter which includes the TGA reference number will be sent to the holder within 6 weeks. Also, a copy of drug master file administrative detail form is not required to be submitted with the DMF, but the eCTD or NIS format submission requires a cover letter as part of the submission, and that can be used when sending us the electronic media. For the drug substance sourced from the third-party manufacturer, there are 2 mechanisms by which a sponsor can provide information about a drug substance sourced from the third-party manufacturer: a DMF or a CEP issued by the European Directorate for the Quality of Medicine and Healthcare, that is EDQM. So this is the procedure how the DMF electronic submission is to be done in Australia. Next is submission of DMF in electronic format in Health Canada. The Health Canada, as we know, is moving towards accepting all the new DMF in non-electronic format or ECDD format, which should be effective immediately. So for existing DMF, same conditions apply, and the DMF is useful vehicle for providing information to Health Canada, where that information is of proprietary nature and not available to manufacturer for the dosage form, or to a sponsor of submission when they are not dosage form manufacturer. What could be the publishing challenges are electronic documents will be uploaded onto the Health Canada viewing tool, where they will immediately accessible to Health Canada staff involved in reviewing of the regulatory activity. This would contribute to the effective record management and ensure the authenticity, integrity, availability, traceability, and non-repetitivity of the data. Now we'll see how, when it is effective immediately, the following should be provided in non-ECDD format only. That is, 1, new DMF, 2, transactions related to the existing DMF, that is letter of access, administrative information. Number 3, DMF update. The first update must be included a complete DMF conversion in non-ECTD format for the existing DMF in the paper format. So as we know, from January 1st, 2016, Health Canada will no longer accept the paper copies of DMF. So by 31st of March 2016, all the existing DMFs in paper format must be replaced by a complete DMF conversion in non-ECTD electronic format. So what are the alternatives? Alternatives for DMF can be filed in ECTD format even in the absence of a formal guidance document, as long as a few requirements are met, such as number 1, prior to filing a DMF in ECTD format, a sample according to the ECTD guidelines must be provided to Health Canada, regardless of the company's experience with use of ECTD format. A pre-technical meeting is recommended for companies using ECTD for first time and is mandatory for DMF type 2 and type 3. Thirdly, a dossier identifier, that is an E12345, for an example, a number, should be requested via email for all the DMF filed in ECTD format. The request should include a fully complete DMF application form. And number 4, DMF provided in ECTD format must be sent via common electronic submission gateway. The type, we will go through the type DMF type for Health Canada. Drug master file may be classified as in US, DMF US. Type 1 is drug substance or intermediate in manufacturer of drug substance. This can include API, vaccine, excipients of biological origin, and many more. Type 2 is container closure system or components. Type 3 is excipients, colorants, flavor, and other additives, including alumi and growth media. Type 4 is dosage form and drug product intermediates. So these are the types of DMS. Moving forward to the file format. So the file format is PDF, which is recommended format for Health Canada electronic document. Although other formats such as Microsoft Office may also be accepted. And what all are the documents required? They are cover letter, forms, GMP information, letter of access, agent of authorization, and all the documents of information which goes in module 2 to module 3 QoS and module 3.2.S and in module 3.2.A. So these are the documents required. This is the DMF submission in Health Canada. Moving forward to DMF submission in Switzerland. So the electronic submission of DMS should be in ECTD format. which consists of two parts. One is the restriction part and one is the applicant part. And it also has cover letter of access, Swissmedic form. The consolidation sequence has to be submitted if necessary. Now part A is filed by an applicant, that is MAH. A copy of is transferred of the DMF folder. The form gets completed by filing in part B by DMF folder. What is letter of access? Which goes into module 1.2.3.1, which includes the life cycle of DMS and life cycle of the drug product. And the prefix RP and AP should be added to substance metadata value. Every leaf title in the respective session should have RP and AP. It also recommends to add RP and AP to the file name as well. So the documents that are same in both the AP and RP section should be included only once and placed in AP section of the folder structure. The leaf of the RP section will therefore point to the file in the AP section folder. Now we'll just move towards publishing challenges. In Swissmedic, the following requirements have to be considered for electronic submission of DMF to Swissmedic. Number one, the eCTD DMF dossier is a standalone dossier and is independent of marketing authorization eCTD dossier. Therefore, the DMF, that is the DMF folder substance name, and the drug product consists of two individual eCTD life cycles. Number two, it is even possible to submit the marketing authorization application as eCTD and as DMF dossier, as a paper dossier, or vice versa. Number three, the DMF can be hybrid submission, which means that the restricted part is submitted in paper, whereas the open part is submitted in eCTD format as part of module 3. Regarding the envelope of DMF submission, the following information is needed. Number one, Swissmedic DMF number, if known, DMF holder, Gelecnic form name is common, and submission description. The corresponding version of DMF should be described in the element, that is, if for example AP or RP version 3. So moving forward, for module 1, the following things have to be considered. The country code should be described in Swiss module 1 specification, and the letter of access must be included in both life cycle of the DMF and life cycle of the drug product. And moving forward to module 2 to module 3, the document should have AP, the correspondence of applicant part or open part, or RP, that is the correspondence to restricted part as submission suffix. The open part is submitted to MHA as a part of module 3. Currently, the restricted part is submitted directly by the DMF holder. So this is how the submission of DMF goes into Switzerland. Moving forward to South Africa and Thailand. Actually, there is no separate guidelines or special requirement for DMF electronic submission which goes in South Africa or Thailand. So the basic information goes into module 1, 2, 3 for the repeated API information. So these are the DMF electronic submission in multiple regions. Now moving forward to our processes and tools used for the ease of DMF submission. Firstly, I will go through the software. What should be the software capability for creating DMF for electronic submission? So the solution to create DMF for electronic submission should have particular capabilities. Firstly, with module 1, there should be document mapping and granularity management. eCTD package which is created after publishing the DMF dossier should have XML backbone and should validate the whole package. There should be a baseline submission for paper DMF. There should be a DMF lifecycle management, and there should be a cover multiple items like container closure system for type 3 or pure type 4 in eCTD. It should also contain electronic signatures for DMF, dossier assembling, and compilation in eCTD format. For small size API companies, there should be a pay-per-dossier conversion to create eCTD-based DMF submissions. So these are the few capabilities which should be taken care while the submission of DMF with the use of any solution or tool. One of which I would like to go through is KnowledgeNet, which is a global publishing solution which helps in creating, validating, publishing and viewing the dossier, which helps in compilation of the submission. There are multiple tests published as well before the final submission, and which also manages the complexity of multiple sequences with the eCTD lifecycle management modules. KnowledgeNet as a submission tool also provides a install software. It also provides software as a service, and they are also a service provider. Another such tool could be a eSubmission Express, which is a eCTD publishing tool on cloud, which supports all the electronic submission and also manages the various regulatory mandate document features while maintaining an extremely user-friendly interface, which is highly secure document cloud-based system, which is very cost-effective and ready to use. So for the small API manufacturer, pay-per-use application is also given, which helps in easy to start submission in just 3 steps and could be accessed anytime, anywhere, which is prepared under SaaS, that is software as a service environment. This completes our webinar, which includes what is DMF, DMF submission in multiple regions, what are the publishing challenges for each region, and the lifecycle management of DMF. If you have any queries regarding this, you could type in the chat box.
It's not much more. It's a 2-1 anyway. It doesn't matter.
I'm supposed to hear and see.
One of the questions received is, what is the submission deadline in US for DMF submission electronically? The date is May 5th, 2017 for electronic submission of DMF. One more question is DMF submission in eCTD format in Health Canada. What is the date, effective date for electronic submission? So the date is 31st of March 2016. There should be an electronic submission of DMF in Health Canada. One more query is, if we want to file the DMF in Health Canada, what should be done? So for that, you need to discuss it with the agency about the DMF submission, and you need to submit a sample submission of DMF electronically to the agency. Yeah, one question is, can I request a copy of your slide? Yes, we would be updating this whole video of our webinar on our website, that is knowledgenet.in. Under the webinar session, you can have the slide as well as the webinar recording. Do we have any further questions? You can type in the chat box. And we would really appreciate if you could spare your some time and provide us the feedback. The link through which you can provide us the feedback. For any more information, you can follow us on LinkedIn for regulatory updates and information on our KnowledgeNet LinkedIn page. And you can even contact us at business@surgeon.com for further information about the regulatory submissions, electronic submissions. So here we would be ending our session. Thank you all so much.
Muted.